Today on TQA Weekly, I talk about cross-site scripting attacks and how to mitigate the risks. My name is Steve Smith and this is TQA Weekly. And by the way, if ever you have any technology questions, comments, suggestions, and or stories, you can email me at ask@tqaweekly.com. Go to the website tqaweekly.com and use the contact form. You can go to the show notes page itself, this one, tqaweekly.com/SE3EP49, and use the comments box on that page. And of course, if you are watching on YouTube, blip.tv, or anywhere else, use the comments box on that page and I will reply to you whether in a video or personally by email. Today's topic is all about cross-site scripting, vulnerabilities, and attacks. But before I get into that, this episode of TQA Weekly is brought to you by ProXPN. ProXPN is a virtual private network that allows you to use the internet the way it should be, anonymously and without oversight. For 20% off your new account, go to proxpn.com/podcast and use the coupon code TQAWEE and thank ProXPN for bringing this show to you, my listeners and watchers. So today's topic has to do with cross-site scripting attacks and vulnerabilities. A lot of people hear about how databases are stolen and SQL injection and all that stuff, and this is one of those ways of doing it. So let's talk about what XSS, or cross-site scripting, actually implies. So cross-site scripting is actually using one site to affect another in a way that would adversely affect its performance by either introducing invalid code or malicious code inside a website to get some sort of undesirable operation of the website. What do I mean? I mean that someone has purposely made it so that invalid HTML, code of JavaScript, Flash, Java, or any other type has been introduced into a website, into a place where users may or may not be aware of, has kind of bizarre content in it that can either steal their session cookies or even show the entire database of user passwords and usernames and emails and all that, or even come as far as suppressing the entire database in itself of that website. So make sure you keep backups. Why does this occur? Well, through no fault of anybody, actually there is some fault somewhere, but we're not going to get into that, it's not important. People are programming projects that should be getting them peer reviewed. A lot of problems with coding have to do with the fact that people are not aware that there's an actual issue with their code, whether it's not sanitizing the inputs, whether it's not making sure that all the inputs are valid, because invalid inputs are just as bad as evil input of malicious nature, and sometimes it can cause things to happen to the web pages that shouldn't be happening at all. I actually use a site scanner from GoDaddy to make sure that I have as few problems as possible. It's a daily process of they scan the whole thing, tell me if there's anything weak about it, I fix it, and then I tell them, and then they validate if the fix is correct. This is a way of getting somebody else, automatically or manually, to validate that all your content of your website is in fact safe for the user. There are two types. If we're using the two website approach, where you got the nemesis website of malicious nature actually grasping the traffic and sending people over to yours, they could be sending through one of the three superglobals, the get, post, and request superglobals, content while you're being traversed to that other website that would allow you to supposedly log into the website, steal your session cookie, and then impersonate you on the website. They can take over the roles of your account on those websites and probably steal your identity. Depends on how much information is stored on that server. If they're able to get the website to just print out the cookie information or print out the database, then that can be even worse, because then all the information that the bad guys need are already there. They can potentially infect websites with that kind of code, but in those cases they go to the other type, which is the more permanent cross-site scripting method, which uses comments, forms, and all those kinds of cool stuff, and then they post messages that contain invalid code, HTML, JavaScript, Flash, and whatever, that purposely infects the user's browser, computer, mobile device, and whatever. And because that website did not filter any of the script going in, does not necessarily have validation policy for that HTML or JavaScript or any of the other stuff, you end up not giving the best of all worlds to your users. So how do we prevent cross-site scripting attacks? Well, the first one is just to outright block all JavaScript and HTML except for those that you would like. You have the option of using moderation of content. You have the option of not allowing input whatsoever, validation of content. If it's a page number, make sure it's numeric. If it's a username, make sure it is alphanumeric. If it's passwords, make sure that it doesn't contain anything that would be considered of SQL nature. If you're using a database, make sure you do prevent anti-SQL injection, that you remove slashes and any other code that can be used to actually print out your database or steal session information of your users. So that is a possible way. And since there is so much you can do, I actually went and got a bunch of cheat sheets for you, and the links I'll be putting on the screen right now. And these have to do with DOM-based cross-site scripting prevention cheat sheets. You also have 3 other links to cheat sheets, abridged version, and 2 other ones that actually tell you how to prevent. It has to be valid for your intent of that specific field. If you're expecting password, you want that 62 characters available to users, but you don't need all 62 variables to be accessible when somebody is writing their name, so you can reduce that down to the 52 numbers and letters. In sentences, you expect punctuation. However, in some other fields, you don't need to accept punctuation. And of course, just make sure that you read the manual of the programming language you use, since a lot of programming languages now allow for the simplistic application of input validation, just as PHP very easily does with 1 line of command, and even 4 lines if you use the for each function. You can actually allow all content to be validated to make sure that there is nothing going into your website that shouldn't be there, and you can always strip all tags and code from all entries. It will piss people off because they won't be able to put the signatures they want on the websites, but often these are the places where malicious users will actually try to get people to have malicious code load in your website. So like I said, you will have links available to you. If you're watching on YouTube, they will be down below. Of course, you can always go to tqaweekly.com/SE3EP49 for the same links and the sources and resources. This should be helping you out. So for those wondering, how do I permanently block this kind of cross-site scripting attack? Well, the actual answer is you can't unless you hard code everything. Every page, every piece of content. Don't access a database, don't have forms, don't have messaging, or you use social networks for that specific purpose. But the reason why my website has comments box now that are not from Facebook is because many of you users actually express the fact that it didn't work. So on some websites, using the Facebook box does not necessarily work. So in those cases, just make sure you validate all the code inside. And for those interested in becoming a site moderator for tqaweekly.com to make sure no crazy stuff is trying to happen, you can always email me at ask@tqaweekly.com. Just make sure you've already signed up for your very own account. tqaweekly.com. Click the links on the right to register for your account. And of course, thank you for watching the show. And before we go, we have to bring a word back to ProXPN, the one that makes this show possible. And here it is. Now more than ever, your online freedom and privacy are under threat. Governments and ISPs want to control what you can or cannot see, while keeping a detailed record of everything you do. Plus, that free Wi-Fi at the coffee house, airport terminal, or anywhere else is putting you seriously at risk because your passwords and sensitive data can be intercepted more easily than you might think. Bringing back to cross-site scripting attacks, my previous topics about things like Firesheep and other stuff, you do want to use these kinds of services like ProXPN to help protect you at least a little bit more than you would be on a normal day. ProXPN is a global VPN, virtual private network, that allows you to use almost any internet connection, works with almost any internet connection, creates a secure, encrypted tunnel to which all your online data passes back and forth. Any online application can work with ProXPN, including your web browser, email, file sharing, so those who like torrenting, and instant messaging programs. ProXPN keeps everything you do online from prying eyes, disguising your physical location and giving you unfettered access to any website or online service, no matter where you live or travel to. Complete online privacy with a 2048-bit encryption key, 512-bit encryption tunnel, works with OpenVPN. Many of you who wanted a service that works with OpenVPN, here's one. Works with PPTP for those who have cell phones that don't necessarily have access to OpenVPN, but if you're using Android or iOS, the application does exist already. You can protect yourself from the ISP 6 strikes rule. You can bypass internet filtering, blocked website, geographical restrictions for internet content and online video with worldwide service in the US, UK, Asia, and more. ProXPN software for Mac and Windows offers advanced controls, allowing you to select which programs or ports you may want to anonymously route through ProXPN servers. Works with your iOS or Android device, allowing you to use your data plan or public corporate Wi-Fi with complete and total privacy on the go, no app required, 24/7 customer support. So all you have to do is remember my show, go to proxpn.com/podcast for more information and sign up. TQA Weekly watchers and listeners will also get a free 30-day risk-free trial. Remember to visit proxpn.com/podcast and sign up with the coupon code TQAWEE. ProXPN premium accounts are normally $9.95 a month, $74.95 for the entire year. We've got a special offer for you. Use the coupon code TQAWEE and you receive 20% off the entire lifetime of your ProXPN account. Thank you for watching, listening. Make sure you subscribe and have a great day. Thank you for listening to TQA Weekly. Show your support by liking this episode, subscribe to get our latest episodes as they come out, and share with friends and family who may benefit from such a show as this. You may send us your questions, comments, suggestions, and or stories to ask at tqaweekly.com. For our show notes, links to our Android application, alternate means of subscribing to our show, and information on joining our weekly newsletter, head over to tqaweekly.com. Stay safe and online, and have a great day.